Well, let's talk to Bharat Gopalaswamy. He's a senior fellow at the Observer Research Foundation. He joins us via Skype from New Brunswick, New Jersey. Bharat, what do you make of the timing of this announcement then by the Indian government about updating the National Population Register? I mean, why now and what's the thinking behind it?
I think it's just poor timing. I don't know what the thinking behind it is, but it also sends mixed signals. In the sense, the Prime Minister's, in a way, launched his election campaign. New Delhi is going into a state election. He launched a campaign a couple of days ago, and he expressed his views about, he was trying to reassure. But then this announcement comes at the heels of this whole citizenship amendment bill. So, it's at one level, you're trying to reassure the public that it's not discriminatory. At the other level, you're trying to put your foot on the gas and saying we're going to embark on such endeavors. So it is poor timing, poorly judged, and at many levels it also, I don't know if it's a confused government or they do not know in which direction that they want to head. But they're very clear about. One thing is very clear is that they're not going to back off from the citizenship amendment bill despite the protests.
Yeah, so, and given all the anger and deadly violence over the citizenship law, how is this likely to be seen as yet another tool that will discriminate against Muslims?
Well, I mean, let's rewind it to this summer, right? We started with Kashmir, then we have the Ram Mandir issue, where the Supreme Court passed a judgment of building a temple on the disputed land. Then you come up with the National Register of Citizens in the Northeast. Then you come up with a citizenship amendment bill. Then you allocate funding for the National Population Register. So it's not one data point. Now, my critics might argue that it's speculative. These are 5 different issues in 5 different directions. But there is a common element and there is a common undertone about the discrimination of Muslims. That's why you see a heated anger that people coming onto the streets and protesting. Like the gentleman on your show said, where are their protests? But, but that's not the point. The protest is there are protests. There is an international media. Okay. There is an outcry about this, right? So when you couple all these things, when you look at all these things in its entirety, there is a trajectory, there is a curve that you can plot, and that curve, sometimes it's not in a good direction.
Yeah, and in a recent speech at a rally in New Delhi, the Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, tried to calm fears, saying, look, Muslims have got nothing to worry about. But the NPR will no doubt inflame tensions, as you say, and it does send mixed signals, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, like the Prime Minister's words are not essentially followed by action, right? I mean, within 2 days, you have an NPR coming out. So, I mean, it's not comfortable. If I were sitting on the other side, and if I think there is plans of the BJP, the ruling party, reaching out to a majority of people to reassure them and articulating their views. Now, wouldn't that be the logical first step than allocating funding for this and making a big announcement for this? So I worry that such steps might be too little, too late. And if the government wants to douse tensions off, that's where they should have proceeded.
Yeah, and just a final point to you, Bharat. I mean, how much does all of this undermine the campaign goals and the ideology of the BJP? Because they don't seem to be addressing issues like the economy, as you say, jobs, and the crisis in the farming community.
Right. There is a gentleman who said, those are real issues. Why aren't, okay, if the legislations were passed alongside of those issues where, there was an onion crisis, people are not talking about the onion crisis anymore. There's a jobs crisis. People are not talking about the jobs crisis anymore. And the IMF just released its report on, the dangers of an Indian slowdown. So those are fundamental real issues, and those are going to affect the people and not a divisive agenda like this.
Bharat Gopalaswamy, thank you very much indeed for talking to Al Jazeera.
Pleasure.